Hello and welcome to Ames in Focus, the podcast where we highlight the people, services, and everyday decisions that keep our community running strong. I'm Bill Gebhart with the City of Ames, and today we're talking about something that really ramps up this time of year, outdoor water use. From watering lawns and gardens to keeping plants healthy through the summer heat, how we use water outside can have a big impact, not just on your yard, but on our entire water system. Joining me is John Dunn, Director of Water and Pollution Control for the City of Ames. John, welcome back to the podcast.
Hey, welcome, Bill. Been a few months.
Absolutely, it has, and we're definitely glad to have you back. So let's jump right in. So when we talk about outdoor water use, what are we really referring to, and why does it matter so much during the summer months?
Water use in Ames varies throughout the year. It goes from a low of around 3.5 million gallons per day, and that's usually something that happens that week between Christmas and New Year's. And it'll peak in the summer at about 9.5 million gallons per day. And that tends to happen like late July, early August when we hit those peaks. And it's not that the population in Ames went up at that time of year. Actually, it's probably down a little bit. It's really all driven by outdoor water use. That's mainly lawn watering. Utilities like ours here in Ames have to build infrastructure to meet those peaks, even when they only happen a couple times a year.
And that makes a lot of sense because I'm not watering my lawn between Christmas and New Year's, not usually anyway,
not
right?
Usually.
And in the summer, I might be watering my lawn, but also my kids want to be in the sprinklers and they want to do all of that stuff too. So there's just lots of water outside.
Yeah. Folks water in their cars. Lots of reasons folks would want water outside for sure.
So it's not just though about how much water we use though. It's when and how we're using it when we're thinking about this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Our goals for the utility related to summer demands are to provide the products that our customers need and to try to do it in a cost-effective way. And both the time of day and the time of year when that water is being used really does impact how we provide service to our customers.
And so what happens behind the scenes when the outdoor water usage spikes? So in that summer months, in that July month, when the outdoor water usage spikes, what does it look like for the city's water system and for you guys at the water plant? Our strategy is to try to avoid water rationing in what we call a moderate drought. And we reference back to the summers of 1975-76, which was the last time we had to ration water in Ames due to a drought. And for us to be able to do that, it requires treatment capacity that we have to build and pay for 365 days a year, even if it's only needed a few days a year. What that means for us is that we have to have additional wells, we have to have additional treatment plant capacity to be able to treat that well water, have the pumping capacity to be able to move that water out into neighborhoods and deliver it to customers, and have enough elevated water tower capacity to be able to handle those busiest hours on the hottest days. And that really makes those 2 or 3 peak summer days with our highest demands the most expensive water that we have to produce. And so just piggybacking off that a little bit, so we have to be able to provide that much water that we might use on that one day in July, but we still have to have that same capacity on those times when we're not using very much water, like in the wintertime. Right.
That treatment capacity is just sitting there unused. We're having to pay for it. Our customers are paying for it, and it's not generating any money back for the utility.
And so for that one time in the summer, we're kind of having that capacity all year long.
Right.
So let's make this practical then. So a lot of people want a green lawn or healthy plants, but they also don't want to waste water. They don't want that water sitting around, just like you were saying. So what are some of the most effective ways residents can use water more efficiently?
One of the first things for customers to understand is that they don't need to water their lawns every day. That's actually bad for your lawn because what it does is it encourages the roots of your lawn to stay real shallow. If that top inch or 2 inches is always wet, then the grass doesn't have a reason to send down deep roots. And what that means is that the grass is more prone to heat stress. When the crown of that root stays shallow, it gets the brunt of all of that summer heat. What helps protect the grass from the heat of Iowa summers is if you water deeply and infrequently, and that will encourage the roots to go deeper and make the lawns more resilient to a drought.
So real quick, so that would mean instead of watering a little bit, a lot of times in a week, you would kind of water for a longer amount of time, just like 1 or maybe 2 times a week.
Right. Yeah. Instead of, say, running your sprinkler for 20 minutes every day, maybe run it for an hour once a week and saturate the soil to a deeper level. And that's what's going to encourage your roots to go down because they're going to follow the water.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's a good tip. Are there other ones?
Yeah, the second thing for folks who want that green lawn is to use a drought-tolerant grass. Folks like to use Kentucky bluegrass because it's a pretty grass. It's a cool season grass, which means it'll turn green early in the year. But when the temperatures get hot, above about 80 to 85 degrees in the summer, that Kentucky bluegrass is going to go dormant. It's going to turn brown late in the summer. Brown doesn't mean it's dead. It just means it's gone dormant. That's the normal response to bluegrass. But it's not going to give folks that green color all year long. So at the least, I would recommend using a blend of grasses in your yard. Maybe overseed with something like a fescue mixed in if you want that green color to last deeper into the summer. And then probably the most important thing that I would suggest to folks who are using water outside is make sure you actually know where the water's going and that it's going where you want to. I don't care how much you water your driveway, you're not going to grow more concrete. All that happens is it runs into the storm sewer, and you might as well just stand in the street and toss dollar bills out into the street.
Okay, yeah. So definitely don't need to water our sidewalks, don't need to water our driveways, things like that. So I know that timing is kind of a big thing when we're talking about watering. So why does watering in the morning make such a difference?
Well, in general, mornings tend to be cooler, tend to be less windy, less humid, and all of that means that there's going to be less water loss to evaporation. But there's also important reasons for your plants, too, why you want to do that. And that's that it gives your leaves a chance to dry out as the weather and temperature warms up during the day. If you water in the evening, the leaves are going to stay wet all night long, and that leads to diseases like powdery mildew or rust fungus forming on the lawns.
And so watering in the morning is that idea of we're giving the plant what it needs in the morning with the water, but also what it needs in the afternoon with the sunlight and the heat to kind of dry out and grow that way.
Right. Give it that chance to dry back out.
Absolutely. So what about sprinkler systems? Are there common issues people might not even realize that are wasting water?
If you use an irrigation system properly, it can help you conserve water, especially some of these new high-tech systems that have sensors that will turn themselves off if your lawn and the ground is already wet, or some of them are tied into a service with a forecast, and so it knows, hey, it's going to rain this afternoon. I don't need to turn on this morning. But if you don't pay attention to them, they can actually cause some pretty big expenses due to wasted water. Sprinkler heads can get hit by lawnmowers, get hit by pets and kids, and now they're spraying out into the street instead of onto your yard, or they're spraying up on the side of the house. Also, those irrigation lines, they might get hit if you're digging or putting in other landscaping, or maybe water gets trapped in them in the winter and they freeze and burst. And then when you start up your system in the spring, all that water is being lost out of a break, and that it can add up really quickly.
But paying attention to it can help you to conserve water, but just letting it go, there's definitely ways for it to waste water.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a system that you have to pay attention to. Okay. A lot of folks think irrigation systems mean I can set it and forget it.
Set it and forget it.
And it's not really that way.
Yeah. Okay. So how about folks that with gardens or that enjoy landscaping? Are there smarter ways to keep plants healthy without overdoing it on water?
Oh, you bet. First, try to pick grasses and landscape materials that are native to Iowa. Not only are those varieties going to survive summer droughts better, but they're also going to survive the winter deep freeze that we get here in Iowa. Mulching your flower beds can make a huge difference, especially for some of those smaller, landscape plants. Just make sure that you're keeping that mulch away from the base of trunks of trees, kind of pull it back 2-3 inches. Otherwise, that can cause other diseases for your trees that you want to stay away from. And then rain barrels are a great way to help get you through some short dry spells. You know, they're not going to be a lot of value if you get into a months-long drought. But when you have periods where you maybe go a week or 10 days with no rain, a rain barrel can help get you through that without having to irrigate. And the city has a rebate program to help you get started with those too.
Absolutely. And people can check out all the rebates that city offers at cityofames.org/rebates. And I know that one's on there. So let's talk about something people might remember from last summer, the possibility of a lawn watering ban. So can you walk us through what leads to that kind of a decision and what I'm talking about even with last year?
Yeah, so watering restrictions were not an issue in Ames last year, but they certainly made the news in other areas around us. It was a big deal in other parts of central Iowa. Water use restrictions are implemented by utilities when the utility can't keep up with the demand. And often it's because of a drought, but it could be because of some other type of an emergency. Folks who have been in Ames for a while might remember the floods in 2010, where we did have to have some water bans for a short period of time there around that. But what happened in central Iowa last summer, again, not in Ames, but in other communities, was that the quality of the source water available to them, like for Des Moines Water Works, just as an example, the river level was high in nitrates, and elevated nitrates can be dangerous, especially for infants. And the utilities there have a limited ability to be able to remove nitrates from water. And they really needed to make sure that what they could produce was being used to protect public health and not watering lawns. So just to be clear, though, for our customers here in Ames, we've never had a nitrate problem with our water in Ames. So that's not something that customers need to worry about.
Absolutely. Ames customers don't need to worry about that. But as you were talking about central Iowa, is that something residents could expect to hear about every summer? Or is it more of a situational thing that depends on the conditions?
Yeah, so for the Des Moines issue, it really needs some long-term resolution. The issue with nitrates is not going to go away. It'll probably continue to be there every year for Des Moines. For customers in Ames, water use restrictions are not something that they should expect every year, though. The last time we did that, it was 16 years ago. It was the summer of 2010, and it was driven by events that happened around the floods. Other than that, you have to go all the way back to those summers in 1975, 76 to find the last mandatory water use restrictions. So it's a pretty rare occurrence in Ames for that to happen.
And so while we might hear about it in the news in places other than Ames and even close to us in central Iowa, we're not really worried about those things in Ames. It's very situationally driven.
Right. Our aquifer formation in Ames is pretty shallow, and it is subject to influence by drought for sure. The good thing is that our formation also responds very quickly when we do get some rainfall, and it recovers really quickly too.
Good. Well, that's all good to know, even if we do hear about it this summer. So if we all make small changes like watering smarter and not harder, does it actually reduce the likelihood of having restrictions like these if it were to come up?
You know, what we're talking about and what we're encouraging residents to do is to make really small changes. Just as an example, if a homeowner skips using an irrigation system for just one day, obviously it can depend on the size of the lawn that they're watering, but they could save 3,600 gallons of water just from skipping a single day of lawn watering. And that's not a major lifestyle change that somebody has to make. But if you just start imagining now 100 homeowners making that same level of conservation, suddenly that starts adding up to a lot of water.
Absolutely. And as you were talking about earlier, potentially that's better for your grass and better for your plants to kind of do those deeper waters and do them less frequently.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, we could definitely be saving hundreds of thousands of gallons if we're doing this right.
You bet.
So for someone listening who wants to do the right thing but doesn't want to sacrifice their lawn, what's the takeaway here?
Well, we call our educational program Smart Water, and that's for a good reason. It's because we're not telling people to stop watering. We're not saying that outdoor water use is bad. We just want them to be smart about how they do it. So the messages I've been sharing here: water in the morning, water deeply but infrequently, and make sure you know where the water's going when you open the spigot.
That makes a lot of sense. So if people do want to learn more, where should they go?
Best place to go is the city webpage, www.cityofames.org/water. And they can also find tips all summer long just by following along with the City of Ames on Facebook.
Absolutely. We post a lot of those. I know that. So, okay. So, John, since the last time you were here, starting with our second season, we started wrapping up with some rapid fire questions. So it's kind of the first thing comes to your mind. You didn't do this last time, so you're going to be new to this one. But are you ready for it?
Let's do it.
Okay. So I think I know the answer to this one. Early morning watering or evening watering?
Always water in the morning.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure we went over that rapid fire one many, many times in this one already. Okay. All right. So what's one outdoor watering mistake that you see all the time?
Sprinklers running in the rain. It drives me crazy to drive down the street and see sprinklers on in a rainstorm.
Oh man, I agree with that, right? Free water as opposed to the water from the city, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Sprinkler systems or a hose and a sprinkler?
Either is fine as long as you're paying attention to how it's being used.
Okay. Green lawn or a low maintenance lawn?
Not mutually exclusive. Drought tolerant lawns are really what you want.
So it can be green and it can be low maintenance.
It can be both. Yeah. If you get something that's intended for the Iowa climate.
And man, that's the best of both worlds. I like that answer. So, okay. And what's one quick tip every Ames resident should know before heading into the summer?
We didn't talk about it yet, but be careful when you're putting fertilizers on your lawn. Most established lawns in Iowa don't need phosphorus really at all. And when you're over applying nitrogen, that can lead to turf diseases. And most of it's just going to run off anyway the next time it rains. So my suggestion, it's the same thing I tell my wife that we're doing on our lawn, and that's to avoid that vicious circle of fertilize, water, mow, fertilize, water, mow.
Absolutely. And again, as we were talking about using native Iowa plants, that also probably reduces the need for that fertilizer as well.
Yeah, both. Yeah, absolutely. Fertilizer and water use.
And water, yeah. Okay. Well, John, thank you so much for helping us break this down. It's one of those topics where a few small changes can make a big difference for your yard and your entire community. So thanks for sharing those with us.
Glad to do it.
And if you'd like to learn more, head to the City of Ames website, cityofames.org/water. You'll learn more about outdoor water use. There's conservation tips. There's also any potential watering guidelines if they should come up, but that's not likely in Ames. Thanks for tuning in to Ames in Focus. Water smart, take care of your lawn, and we'll see you next time.
Ames in Focus is a City of Ames podcast.